Okay, so this is going to be a quick tutorial of shading the sphere. So I want to look at this picture a little bit and talk about it because I'm not sure how good you'll be able to see it once we start. We definitely have a light side, which is at the left side of the ball, moving to the darker side. We have the shadow coming out, which is like a smushed ellipse. The circle's smushed into an oval or an ellipse. I really want you to look at where that shadow hits the ball, right? Because even though that's a dark side, I wonder if you can see, oh, I have a pointer. I wonder if it's recording that, I can't tell. But here, this is the darkest part of this object, right? And so we're just studying it. This is a really dark part. And this value right here is pretty close to the value of the shadow. So this is the darkest part of the ball. But instead of this whole side being dark, it's getting some light reflected up from the tabletop. So you can see that, we have it dark here, but right in here we get this little reflected value that's pretty close to these median values in here. That's a trick that we're going to use to make it look super realistic, right? So remember, to make something look realistic, we have to have a light, a medium, and a dark value. That's what makes realism start to happen. But we don't do that all in one layer. We're going to do it in 3 layers and touch up and maybe mess around with a 4th, but at least 3 layers is what we have to do to make something like this look real. So let me bring this up. And remember, we have a vine charcoal and a compressed charcoal. In case you missed that class, let me do a little schooling with you super quick. Your vine charcoal is what we use for 85–90% of all of our drawing. Vine charcoal is much lighter than its counterpart compressed. Just to have the 2 there, I don't know if you can tell, but this vine is lighter in weight and lighter in tone, shade. It has like a glisten, a slight sheen on it when you hold it up to the light. I don't see that coming off in the video. Why we use this for most of our drawing is we can lay down this nice tone, spread it around. Look what great even coat we get. It's because this is really good charcoal. And then I can put down another layer and really build this darkness up just with layering these different layers. And so here I'm going from a lighter shade to a darker shade. It also, I barely touch it. It erases really well. This is me pushing into that eraser because it just is so forgiving, right? Then we get its buddy, the compressed, and we use this just as I call it icing on the cake. We have to use it at the end. You have to build your cake, make your cake before you put the icing on it. It's the same thing with vine charcoal. So this is about as dark as I can get with vine. I'm pushing really hard on that. And it's a pretty dark value compared to my lighter value. But then let's bring compressed into the game. Whole different ball game. Compressed makes this beautiful dark velvety tone, a true black. And look at how dark that is compared to that vine. The thing about it is, yeah, you can move it around, but it's much more permanent. So think of it like more of a permanent marker. I can come in and here I can bring some erase marks to it, but nothing like I can do in the vine. So that's about as, if I push super hard, I got a good erase mark there, but your paper will break down And I won't be able to do that a lot until, you know, every time I go to erase it, it's going to get fainter and fainter. So whatever you do, make sure you do not start with compressed charcoal. It's going to limit you so much. You save this till the end, and we do most of our drawing in the vine charcoal. Okay, so I was going to get up and grab a different piece of paper that has a little more tooth to it. This is this really slick paper, but I'm just going to go ahead and use it and save the better paper for you guys. I'm not sure how well this computer is going to go back and forth, so I'm not going to look at the image. If you want to Google the image to have, you look up black, white, because we always put black and white so we can see the value in something. Black, white, sphere. You can also call it a ball, and you can put in still life, and pick which one you want to work for if you want to keep looking back at that. Okay, so I start out really loose. Already you can see my paper's getting a little dirty from my fingerprints, but that's okay. I'm going to start out outlining this ball a little loose. Yeah, I go over it a few times because I really want to make a nice circle. All of this is going to blend in with my drawing. So there's my sphere. The shadow is going to start a little bit towards the middle. And remember, it makes kind of this flat kind of oval shape. And then I think we had a table kind of going diagonal this way. You can make your table line going straight or diagonal in the back. Let me see. Right, so now I switched back to this really quick. I'm going to draw. I just wanted to see where that shadow came out, and I was right. It moves a little bit forward to that. Comes about right there. But really, that's a pretty good shade, and you can still see me drawing down here a little bit. I think I'm going to keep it like this just for a little bit until we block in our first layer. So I don't really count this as a layer. This is just our sketch. We sketched it in loose with vine, and now we're ready for our first layer. And we call it blocking in our darks. So anytime we're going to make something realistic, we look at our picture and we want to break down our dark values into shapes. And so right away I have this dark side of the ball, and I do have some reflected light right there, but for right now I'm just going to simplify it and make this the dark side of the ball. And then my shadow is very dark, and I'm going to bring it right up to my ball, my sphere, and kind of bring it out here. And really, those are my two darkest shades. I'm not going to deal with the value of the background and stuff yet. I'm really just looking at my ball here. And so when I start to blend this, I want to blend, see how I'm curving the same way the ball is? Because it helps. Well, here I have to really push it. It's not spreading around like I thought. And I want to go ahead and, man, that got dark really quick, but that's okay. I want you to trust this process that we can go back and do a lot with this, even if, you know, it doesn't look right in the beginning. Always, never be afraid to have a weird or off-looking drawing in the beginning, because it's just the first layer. Drawings don't really come around until 2 or 3 layers into it. And you can see I had that shadow, but I'm really pushing it around. I want some tone on that table too. So that's a pretty good first layer. You can see my charcoal's turning a little brown there. It's not my favorite. God, I hope you guys can see what I was just drawing. I bet you can't see what I was just drawing. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my goodness gracious. Well, you can see it there, right now, and I'll do another run really quick because you couldn't see it very well. So what I did was I put in my circle, I brought out that shadow here, and I put in my table line here, okay? And then I blocked in my dark, so this is this dark side. And so I just look at that shape. This half is dark, and it does kind of go into the middle a little bit, rounds like that. And then here is my shadow. I'm bringing it right up to the edge and filling that in a little bit. And I'm just being really loose. I'm not worrying about being super tight with it. And here's what I was talking about. I start shading it, and then it's sticking to this paper pretty well. So I really have to move it around, but I'm trying to move it around in a round way so the marks are looking circular. They're following the form of that ball. I'm not going up and back. I'm making it round the way I'm shading it. And the same here. I'm bringing it right up here and then bringing that. And I just like to, when I have some kind of charcoal down, I just like to kind of spread it around the whole paper while I can, especially in this first stage. Okay, so we've made it kind of messy. Gosh, I'm going to have to remember to tell you guys that that was hidden for a couple minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with a second layer. Okay, and what I mean is this charcoal has a little brown tint to it. It just means it was cooked a little different. And so that's okay. I'm not going to start another one. I am going to bring in this original outline that I had. I never want to make a thick black outline around anything when I'm doing it realistic, but I lost some of that. So I'm just kind of bringing that in. Okay, so this is going to be already just having a dark and light side and smushing that around. It's starting to look more realistic. But now let's do a second layer. And I do the same thing. I block in my darks. I'm going to reestablish my darks, but I'm going to do them, make it a little less. So here I move back down. So I'm really going to put a lot of my dark here on this edge, maybe a little into the middle, and then really pile it up down here around the shadow. And I look at that shape of the dark, it kind of comes down. It makes this kind of shape. Kind of curves down around here. I'm being a little bit neater this time. I'm going to just go ahead and start to blend that first layer, or that second layer, over the top of that first layer. And I didn't bring that dark all the way down because I'm being more specific, and I just smudged it out, but that's okay. And then right down here, I'm going to bring that shadow. When I want to draw darker, I turn to the point of my charcoal or my pencil or anything. I turn to that point. When I want to lay in a lot of space, I use the side of my tool. So I'm bringing that right up into that ball, not leaving any kind of halo. I want to bring one shade up against the other shade. But a shadow does get lighter as it gets further away from its object. So I'm shading right up in, and then I'm really kind of bringing that in. Okay. That is round 2. And again, I really haven't done much. I'm going to start to look at the lights just a little bit. I have a lot of light coming in on this side. So maybe I'll turn my use this broad side and kind of bring in a lighter side of that. Okay. So this is going to be my third layer. You can see how, since I didn't put that dark here on the second layer, it's really looking like it's already coming up with a little lighter tone there. We're going to play that up a little bit. So this won't really be, this will be my 3 layers. I mean, I'll go into it with a 4th, kind of fine-tuning it, maybe hit the background up. But just to get the light, medium, and dark tones, you have to go over it 3 times. Light, medium, and dark. So that first layer of dark, we set it in. We used like that half side. We made it really a generic, bold print, dark. We come in with that second layer. We're a little more specific. And our first layer then becomes the medium because we put another layer of dark on it. Now I'm coming in and being much more careful where I'm laying in the dark. Really looking at that sphere that I have and just layering some of that dark into there. And then comes down here, it wraps into the shadow, and really where it goes up under the ball, it's the darkest, so that's where I'm going to focus my vine. God, vine's so great that you can make all these different layers and build up on top of each other. It's a great tool. And so just with 3 layers of vine, that's looking pretty dang good. Not bad at all, right? Has a nice turn to it. So 3 layers, blocking in my darks, each layer, but being more specific and pulling back, only really, making my dark area a little smaller every time, makes every layer before become a lighter shade. And that's a real easy trick to doing a realistic value. 3 values, 3 layers. But we're going to take it even further, right? I'm going to show you some tricks. So it's time to break out our lovely compressed charcoal, and this is going to change everything. So where are our darkest darks? Right underneath here and a little bit up in here. So let me make this big again so you can see it. So I'm going to bring this vine charcoal or compressed charcoal right up underneath this ball. I want to bring value to value, tone to tone. I don't want a halo around it where, I'm leaving this white space between one value and the other. I want to bring it right up on it, and I'm not putting too much. I'm going to thinning that out there and there. And then we had a little bit of dark up in here. Sometimes I will actually just do like that, or pretty light, barely touching it, because I don't want it to get super dark up there. But it was the darkest part of the ball, so I want to bring it up. You can also, before I start to smear this, I can put vine charcoal back over the top of it, and that can be a way to kind of blend it, make it not be so dramatic. So that just upped that level a lot, bringing in that dark side there. And then I get right up underneath that sphere. Bringing that down. Now my shadow got a little bit out of control, but I'm going to come in and clean that up. In fact, I'm going to show you some really cool tricks. Okay. I have pretty good light value down there, but just to make it a little more dramatic, I'm going to take don't want it to be too strong, but let's take this edge here, bring up just a little bit of a reflection where it's casting up that light. And then this was really light. Oop, I didn't clean my eraser. Woo! What did I just do? So I smudged it. I really want to make this side light. Remember, we don't want a black outline around things because that's what they use in animation and cartoons. They make a black outline to make things look flat. We don't want a black outline. But where's it not looking so good? Well, right in here. This isn't looking so hot. So I'm going to clean up some of this. Well, wait. Let's do a little something first. We're almost done. And let me show you a trick first. And then we'll clean up the rest of our ball. And why I'm waiting is because I think it'll make more sense if I do this part first. So, God, I want to clean that up, but I think it'll make more sense if I do it this way. So, this is as bright as I can get this bright side, right? I've erased it, and it definitely looks light, but it's not really popping the way I want. Well, it's because I'm making it worse because I'm not cleaning my eraser off. And the reason is because it has a light shade behind it. So I have my lightest value here, but I have a really light value behind it. If you want to make something look more dramatic and darker, then we need to darken up the shade behind the light shade. So I turn my paper over just so I could get a good line, and I'm bringing it. I was going to use compressed, but I grabbed the vine at the last minute instead, because I'm not sure if I want to make it compressed dark or just vine dark. But I'm going to start with vine just so I know, and I'm bringing it right up to the edge of that ball. When I say halo, this is a halo. I watched so many beginning artists shade all the way around, except they leave this little kind of glow that happens right here. Well, that might work for some abstract design, but for realism, it kills realism. You don't want that. So I'm going to come right up, even if it's darker. Now I have my dark side of the ball and my background are really close in value. It looks cool on this side, but here I'm really losing some of that. So I could darken my ball, but I think now that I've looked at it and seen it, I think I'm just going to add some of that compressed in there and really darken up my background instead of my ball. Because what am I doing? I'm trying to make a difference between my tone. It's contrast. So I don't want the darkest part of my ball to be the same tone as the background, because that's not different. That's not contrast. Contrast is the difference in things. So now when I make that background that much darker, that ball has regained its presence. It looks, now I have a dark halo happening around there, but that's okay. And I have so much of this compressed on there, I might put a little bit in here. So much on my hands. Oh, I kind of wish I had grabbed that better paper now, because it would have worked better, but okay. So let's clean up the rest of this. So where do we need to clean it? This made a nice dramatic change there by darkening that up. I think I'm going to come in and kind of clean up some of that. Clean that eraser off. And then right in here, you can see I need to either darken my bowl or darken the background. Well, let's look and see really quick what... They're pretty close right there, but when I look right here, the ball is a little bit darker than the background, but here the ball's lighter than the background. Remember, we're just learning to see. So definitely on this side where I need to clean it up, the ball is much darker than the background. Okay, so I'm going to come back here, and on this one's a lot easier. I'm just going to come in here and erase. I feel like I should make my ball much darker on that side, but I'm not going to nitpick it. And then my shadow kind of I have to add a little dark in here. It'll just drive me crazy because I know that gets a little darker. Okay. In here, I just want to bring up some of that drama. And I don't really like a harsh line there for the divide. I like it to look like it's gradually kind of glowing. Cleaning off that eraser a little bit and bringing out some of those highlights again. And then over here, how about I make the ball lighter? And I just spread some of this around for the table. Because I just want it to be different, right? It has to be a different value. It has to bring in contrast. So I'm just blending that in a little bit, making... On this side I made the table lighter to make that look really dark. Here I'm adding some tones on the table and bringing out the highlight on this side. I don't have an outline on any of it. This is an edge where I have a light tone next to a dark tone, a light tone next to a dark tone. You don't want to make an outline around it. Oh my gosh, I need to stop messing with that. That's the problem about having an art teacher who's also a professional artist, is sometimes I obsess over little details because I have to with my professional side. So right here, I really just need to bring out the shape of this shadow. And, you know, it's very narrow right here. The ball's a little bit darker. It's not gonna, I might not do that, but here it brings out a lot of, so it kind of comes in, that shadow kind of comes in like this, and then this, I'm just not applying a lot of pressure with my eraser, but enough that it's taking off. Some of that dark and bringing out, pull some of that up there. And so that's looking pretty freaking good, right? I can definitely lighten up some of this table if I want it to match, and just kind of play around with it. I could have made this table white here and darken the ball. I could still do that if I wanted to. I could bring some of that shade down. Let's just see, let me just show you how I can change it. So let's say I darken the ball right here. Well, now I have these two values that are super close together because I brought some of that tone in. I had this really light. I'm just showing you how I can change it up. Well, maybe it's pretty. The paper's pretty soiled with the charcoal. I don't know how much I can actually take off at this point, especially because it's not a drawing paper. There's only so much erasing that a paper can take. And this is hit. Like, I can't really take off any more tone there. So I think I liked it better. I think it looked, I don't know, it looks good both ways. Bringing out some of that, but I am going to just mess with the shadow a little bit because I can be a perfectionist, or just not like I'm trying to make it look perfect. It's more like a feeling. I just know somehow when it looks right. And God, these are so much alike, these two values from here to here. I can't erase this anymore. That's as dark as light I could make it. So I think I'm going to add just a little bit of tone into this ball right there. And make that contrast happen. I just wanted a little more contrast with it. And I think I'm good. Bring out a little bit of that. Round this highlight a little bit, but that's, and I even nitpicked it. I could have done it a lot faster, you know, but I was really working those values. And, you know, you can look around and just experiment. What happens if I put a little highlight here, or stop and do another one? That's when you really learn, right? When you do multiples. But that is how we do realistic charcoal, realistic anything. 3 values, light, medium, and dark, minimum. And then that takes 3 layers, minimum 3 layers. And you have created this illusion, a great illusion. It's a magic trick of a 3-dimensional sphere, a realistic 3-dimensional ball with a beautiful light shining on it. And I just keep working it and working it. I need to turn off the video and get out of here. It's like 7 o'clock at night. And yes, I taught today, but I'm really trying to make these videos. And now I just have to wait for them to upload. I'm getting goofy, guys. I've been here way too long. But even that kind of upped that value, that contrast. So get in the habit, even on these little small drawings. Finish them off. Take them to the edge. Make them look nice. When you finish it, sign your name. And it's great to put a date on it. I usually just would do like 23 or maybe 11/23. You can always date it in the back. If you're serious about art, these will be great to look back on. So maybe value study number 1, 11/23. That's November 23rd. And watch how you improve as you go. Okay, everything we shade and do value is going to follow this formula. Have fun, guys.